Hi guys, how are you doing? So this is the third video of the React and Golang full stack video calling project series. So in the second video, which was the video previous to this, we started writing all these different routes and route handler functions, right? And I didn't really explain to you why we're writing all of this. So what we'll do is in this video, we'll take things a little slow and I'll try and explain to you. And what we'll do is we'll start writing a couple of these functions so that things become much clearer to you. So before we get started, we'll have to install Fiber in our project. And that's because Fiber basically gives us access to this app.get function. All right. So let's do that. Let's install Fiber. Now Fiber has, we won't be using all of the things that Fiber has to give us. We'll only get a couple of things. So what we'll have to do first is we have to go mod init and give the name of the project. Let's say github.com/video chat project. So now we'll get a go mod file. So go mod file, many of you would know that it's it basically has a list of your dependencies, and then we'll have go mod tidy to create a go.sum file. We can do that right now. We can say go mod tidy. All right, so it'll create a go sum file for us. Now let's go get the most important package here. It's github.com/go-fiber/v2. Now a lot of people who are coming from Node.js background, they ask me, why do you have to get the packages from github.com? It's because unlike Node.js, we don't have a website like npm which has a list of all our packages, so we can't do npm install. So we have to use go-get, and we have to actually put the link of the GitHub link. So if you're a Golang developer, please make a website like npm so that it makes our life easier. All right. So let's install this package. It's taking way too long. It shouldn't take this long. Seems like something is wrong. I think I'll just wait for a while. Yeah, it's downloading. So I'll just wait for a while. And till then, what we can do is I can actually start taking you through what we're about to do here. What we'll do here is we'll basically include the package in our project. So we'll say go fiber/v2. And then we'll say github.com/go-fiber. Sorry, not fogiber. It's go fiber/v2 and middleware/course. Now it's a big project, right? So there could be multiple ways for us to get started. I could have created these folders one by one and these files one by one, you know, in a particular order, but I thought I'll just create all the files in folders together. So that's what I showed you in the previous video, so that, you know, that's out of the way. And then the entry point into a project is usually through the routes, right? That's how you interact with the project. That's how the front end interacts with the back end, or that's how you interact with the project using Postman or something like that. So that's why I created all these different routes first, so that you know how we're going to enter into the project. All right. And here we'll have a couple of more packages. We'll say github.com/go-fiber/middleware/logger. So we'll need a logger as well. And we'll need HTML template to render stuff. So we'll say /go-fiber/template/html. And we'll need access to WebSockets. So we'll say github.com/go-fiber/websockets/v2. Okay. So far so good. Now out here I need to first define my engine. So I'll say engine HTML .new. So HTML is basically this HTML, right? And as you already know, we have a folder called views, and that's where we're going to have all our HTML files. So we're basically telling Golang that in your engine variable you're basically creating a new instance of HTML, which basically accesses your views folder and accesses all the files with the .html extension. And now if you've used Express.js with Node.js, you know that you have to create a new app instance, right? That's how you start getting access to all these app.get and app.use and all of those different things. So Fiber is, I'm not sure if you've heard, but Fiber is very similar to Express. And people say it's 5x faster also. It's 5x faster than Express. It's very similar to Express because the language that you'll be using is almost, the syntax is almost the same. You have app.get, you have app.use, and you define app as a new instance of Express. So here we have the same thing. So we say fiber.new instead of express.new, and here we say fiber.config. Inside that you'll say the views are engine. Now this is very, very similar to how you would have set it up if you were using something like handlebars in Node.js. Handlebars creates those templates for you. So we're using a very, very similar approach here. Okay, so we are using basic HTML files to create views. And we'll also say app.use. So if you've used Express, you would know how to use middlewares. So it's very similar to that. So we'll use a logger middleware so that we don't have to build our logger ourselves. And it's not user, it's just use. And then we'll say app.use course.new, which is another middleware we'll use. So far so good. And then there's this function called room websocket that needs to come here. So let me create that. So when you hit the WebSocket route, we'll say websocket.new handlers.room websocket, websocket.config. Inside curly braces, you'll say handshake timeout 10 star time.second. Okay. Now if you're saying time.second, then you're basically using the time package here. And I'll explain to you what we're doing here. We'll just make it 10 and not 20. So I know I said that I'll start creating these functions so that things start becoming easier for you, but I start creating new things here, which probably are making things worse for you, not easier for you. So don't worry about that. Let's start creating these functions. Okay. So let's create this function, the first function called welcome. And where do we create it? We'll create it in handlers. So handlers, we have a file called welcome.go, which is specifically made for this purpose. So here we have to say package handlers, and when we'll import handlers in our server.go file, when we import handlers, all of these files need to have package handlers on top, so that Golang recognizes that all of this is part of the handlers package, all of these different files. The files we're creating for ourselves to manage the project more easily for us, to make it more modular, but Golang needs to know that all of those files are part of the handler package. All right. So all of these files inside the handlers folder will have package handlers at top, and here we'll say import github.com/go-fiber/v2. Okay. And so this is how it's flowing, right? So you come to this route, which is the slash or the root route, and we're telling Golang that I have a function in my handlers package called welcome. So why don't you use that welcome function to handle whenever the traffic comes to the root route? Okay. So I know the second video could have been confusing for you, but now I've explained to you every single step of what we're doing. All right. And I hope you don't have any more doubts, but if you do have the doubts, post them in the comments below, because things are still much easier now and they're going to get complex, and you don't want to be lost. So put them in the comments below if you find any issues anywhere. Fiber.ctx. Now it's quite possible that you don't know how Fiber works, and you've probably not seen videos on YouTube on what is Fiber, how does it work. What I'll do is I'll in a parallel series or in just a video, in just one 30-40 minute video, I'll probably explain what fiber is and how it works and what is context and how do you use context with fiber, and I'll probably explain all of that. If you don't know, if you know, it's really good, but if you don't know, I think I'll make a video and everything will be clear, don't worry. So we'll say return. So we'll have something called as C right now, and we'll define it, but for now let's say it says welcome. We're just basically rendering welcome, and there's a value called nil that we were passing, and we are saying layouts / main. So all you need to understand here is that you hit the root route, you call the welcome function that's part of handlers package, right? This is the handlers package. You reach the function called welcome. It takes context, okay, and then you have a function called render, which basically renders a file, and the file that's rendering is layouts / main. And where do you think it'll be? It'll be inside views and inside layouts / main. Okay, so that sounds good. So we'll have to create a file called the main file, which will be inside layout. So let's do that. Let's create a new file called main.html, and the main.html will have a couple of things. So if you've used handlebars, you know what I'm doing here. I'm basically trying to embed something here. Okay, the thing that I'm trying to embed here is the head of a HTML page. Okay, so we don't have a head right now, and we don't have this folder called, so we have this folder called partials, and we need to create a file called head.html here. Okay, so let's create head.html. Okay, so because I want the files to be generated dynamically, and I don't want to write all those files myself, right? The head again. So I'm creating it as a template. That head is a template, very similar to how handlebar works. If you use that, by the way, handlebar and Express and Node.js, if you've used that combination, you know what I'm doing here. It's just basically, instead of having to write the head again, I'm creating it as almost like a injectable variable, right? Almost like a JSX-ish injectable variable, where you have this template for head that we'll define here in head.html, and we'll keep injecting it in all the pages. Okay, and then we have our template. We'll say partials / header. So this means we need another file called header. So let's create that here. So we'll say header, sorry, not here, it's going to be in the partials folder. So we'll say header.html. And actually I need one more file here. I'm going to call it footer.html. So I'll say footer.html. And that means that I'll have another template. And here I'm going to embed something. So I'll just say embed for now, and we'll come back to this later. Okay. And now what we'll do is we'll just save this file. We'll close this file. We'll close header and footer and head HTML. Actually, head HTML is something that we can work on. Actually, it's very, very straightforward. It's how the head of an HTML file would be. So it'll be HTML language is equal to English, the standard stuff that you basically put in a head file, right? So that means we'll have a head tag here, and we'll say /head, and we can put some meta tags like meta car set is equal to UDF 8 or 9 or whatever, and you can have meta HTTP equivalent is equal to X UA compatible content is equal to, just to make sure that works on IE Edge. And then we'll put a couple of more things like viewport and theme color and icon, all of that stuff, right? And manifest.json, But the most important part here is title. So we'll just put a title. Sorry. So I'm going to call it Akhil's chat room, but we can call it anything else that you want. We'll come back to this file later. We'll put up all the other things that are required in the head, but I don't want to take up too much of your time doing HTML because I'm sure you came here for Golang and not HTML. Okay. So let's. So we're done with our welcome function. Now it's the time to to work on this room create function. And many of these functions that we are creating right now, don't think that they're complete. They're not complete right now. We're working on them, and the welcome function is complete, obviously, but all the other functions that we'll work on, they won't be complete. They'll have many more aspects, but for now I'll add some things to them just to get them started or get the outline started, but then we'll add many more aspects to them. All right. So let's go to our room create function. So this means that you need a file called room.go. You already have it. You probably created this file with me. Very similar to welcome.go. That means you're going to have this as part of package handlers. Then we're going to import some things. So we'll say import fmt os time, just like our server.go. Yeah, we'll need these things. Then the other thing that I'll need will be related to GitHub. By the way, by the time we can also check. Yes, so it had installed GoFiber for us, so everything is okay. So we'll install github.com/gofiber/fiber/v2. And I also need WebSocket in my project. And then I need Google UID, but let's just wait for that. Actually, there's one more package that we'll need. It's called Pion. Let's also not work on that for now. Or I think let's just get Google UID. That's just easier. github.com/google/UUID. So this package, we don't have it right now. So let's go ahead and install it. So let's say go get github.com/google/UUID. So let take its own sweet time. So till that time, I'll help you create this room create function. We've created our handlers.welcome function. Now is the time to create handlers.room create function. Okay. So handlers is basically the package, and all of these files, they basically belong to the handlers package, and that's how we can access all of these different functions, even though they belong to different files. And that's not something that you do with Node.js usually. So if it's confusing for you, I've explained it now. So let's create our room create function, which again takes fiber.cdx. Like I said, if you don't know what fiber is, how it works, what is context in fiber, and what are we doing here, basically, you can watch many other videos on YouTube, or I'll create a video about it maybe tomorrow or day after, and I'll probably explain how all of this works, and then everything will be clear to you. Return c.redirect empty.sprintf. We're just basically redirecting it to the room that it wants to go to. Okay. So when you say room create, you're just basically redirecting it to the room with the ID. So we'll say gguid.new, which is basically creating a new gguid and creating a new room. We'll say string. Okay. Now let's create a function for room WebSocket. So let's go to our server.go file and check out this function called room WebSocket, and let's create it. So func room web socket. It takes something called WebSocket connection. I'll explain to you what that is. And all it does is it just checks, takes UUID and takes, which basically takes params UUID. So even if fiber wasn't clear to you, I'm sure by now you're understanding what C is doing here, right? C basically has our params that the user passes to the backend as params. Those values you can access using C. Okay. And here we can say if UUID is 0, is an empty string, we just return from the project. Otherwise, what you do is you create or get room with the UUID. So the user is coming here, okay, with this room WebSocket to this room WebSocket function from here /WebSocket, and he has a UUID with him. He's passing that UUID back to the front end, to the back end. Sorry. And what we're doing here is we're taking the UUID that's being passed from the front end to the back end. We're getting access to that using this C variable here, and from the params that the user is passing. So we have access to that in UUID variable here. But if it was empty, we were just returning from this function. But if there was some value for UUID, we will either create or get the room. So that means we have some rooms that are available right now on our platform, where chat is happening, the chat rooms. If that room is not available, then it'll create it, or if it exists already, it'll get the room. So this function can do both of the things. Okay. And whatever comes from this function, either it creates a room or it gets a room, whatever comes from this function, 3 different things can come from this function. All right. So here I'm using 2 blank characters. When we'll build this function, we'll come to know what those 2 different things are that come back that we are not handling here. But the third thing is the most important for us right now, which is the room variable, which will come back from this function. All right. So that's why I've captured that in a variable called room. And we'll also have a function for room connection, but I think I'll skip that for now. For now, let's not do that. And let's also work on our room function, which kind of, so I'm again, I'm not completing this function. There's a little more to it, like a couple of more lines. I won't do them now because there are some concepts about WebSocket and Pion and webRTC that you need to understand before we get into all of that, right? If you know them, then they'll be a breeze for you. But what I'm thinking of doing is I'll probably create simple WebSocket videos, like let's say GOLANG with WebSocket and how it works. And then when you come back to this project, it will make so much more sense, right? So I'm just thinking of probably making a video like that and making a video of webRTC with GOLANG, so that when I explain to you here, then things might just make more sense. Because I'm not sure if those videos are there on YouTube. I mean, I'm not sure if somebody's made a video of GOLANG with WebSocket and GOLANG with webRTC. Somehow GOLANG community doesn't make a lot of videos, if you have not realized that by now. But for the JavaScript and Node.js, there are millions of videos, but for GOLANG, there's no resource on the internet. So even when I have to refer stuff, it becomes really difficult, because we all know the documentation of GOLANG is not very easy to understand, right? So I was working on this, the room function, which is here, this function. What's happening here is you're saying room and / the unique ID of the room, and it's basically being sent to the handlers.room function. So handlers.room function, that means there will be a function called room. Let's create it. So we'll say func room takes C again. This is error. So what we've done here is very similar to this, right? We got whatever UUID the user has sent to us. We have captured that in our variable called UUID, which now we'll be able to work with. So if UUID is equal to 0 is nothing, is an empty string, then we'll say status 400 and we'll return nil. Okay. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll say create or get room with UUID, and we'll capture that here. So here we don't need the room, right? But we need the other two variables that we had kept here blank. We need the other two variables. So one of those variables is SUUID. We'll talk about that. And then we have UUID. Okay. And then we'll use these values to perform a couple of operations. So this function is not complete. There'll be a lot more things coming here. But before that, like I said, I'll have to explain to you the entire architecture and how I'm planning to actually build the rest of the project. And then it'll make a lot of more sense to you. So, but I hope what I wanted to do with this video, like today's video, the third video of the series, is that get you to understand why we wrote all of these routes. It's because we want to create all these different functions, and we started creating all these different functions, right? We've created the room create function, which I'm sure you're 100% clear on what it's doing. Welcome function, you know what it's doing. Room function, you know what it'll do, but we've not completed it yet. Room WebSocket, you know what it'll do, but we've not completed it yet. And what we're realizing here is that the create or get room function seems to be the central to this file. And a lot of the functions are calling this function, the create or get room. So what we can do is we can at least write the outline of this function, and then in the next video we'll continue working on it. So we'll say func create or get room. It takes UUID. We all know that. And it returns 3 values, right? 1, 2, 3. Third value it returns is a room. And the first 2 values it returns are just string. Now this room is of type webRTC, but let's not jump ahead. We'll first have to create that webRTC file, and we'll have to import those packages, and then we'll work on it. And what I'll do is I'll just keep this function empty for now. We'll just keep the bare bones skeleton of this function, and that is it. And then we'll write the definition in a later video. So I'll just keep this video short, and I hope now you're getting a picture of where we're headed. It's a big project, and still things could be a little confusing for you. Don't worry, as we'll keep building, as I'll keep explaining to you, everything will make sense. All you have to do is trust and start coding along with me, which is a very different approach from what other people might follow, where they'll explain everything to you up front, and then they'll get you to start coding. And which I've realized personally that just never happens. I mean, you get into that tutorial hell where you just keep watching videos and you never actually start coding or building stuff. But when you build stuff, you'll get errors, or you'll not understand syntax, or you'll get used to the syntax when you type. So things will make more sense. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and stay subscribed to this channel so that you come to know when the next video of this series comes out. And I'll be creating many more videos of the other full stack Golang series that are going on our channel. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next episode.